Okay, good afternoon. We will make a start. We see a couple of people dropping into the session now. That's great. So welcome everybody to our second webinar in this series on kind of value maximization through Bedford Care. So really excited today to chat with everybody around how our customers are maximizing the value of Anaplan, the Anaplan platform with Bedford Care. And we're really excited today to welcome a guest speaker from the University of Exeter joining us today. Session will be about an hour or so long. I'll quickly just flash to the agenda. So we'll do a quick introduction to Care, then we'll jump into the customer spotlight. And then at the end, then we'll obviously take any questions that are going into the chat. So the format there will be, we'll do the spotlight session, about a 35, 40 minute conversation. And then at the end, if there's any questions, we'll pick some of the questions from the chat as well as they come in. So we'll make a start, guys, very quickly just to meet the panel. So my name is Gary Murphy. I'm head of customer care managed service with Bedford Consulting. And today I'm joined by Becky Wild from University of Exeter. I will not steal any more of your thunder, Becky, but if you wouldn't mind, just a quick hello and introduction of maybe how University of Exeter are making use of Anaplan at the moment.
Sure. Okay, well, I'm Becky, as Gary said. I've been at the university just over 2 years now. And I was brought in to look after our strategic planning tools, which were very out of date. So we moved quite quickly onto Anaplan without any support in place. So we were lucky enough to be recommended Bedford to do the first implementation project, which built our knowledge and understanding of the product. I didn't have any Anaplan experience previous to that. But the university now, 2 and a bit years on, has several models. They're doing their student number planning, so calculating potential fee income, research applications and awards, admissions forecasting, budget evaluations, and we've even built a user management model specifically to be dealing with different requests and licensing arrangements. And we're currently building a new top-down student number planning model to look at a different way of planning for the future to be a bit more efficient, as we're all trying to cut costs and make as much savings as we can.
So you're very busy. A very busy individual, Becky. Well, and look, thank you from my side for joining us today. We'll get into some of that really good stuff that you're chatting about, chatting us through there, and how you're maintaining that and managing that. I've always said to you, you're a kind of shining example of a customer really running with the tool and jumping in, maybe up to your neck, but you've certainly taken on quite a lot. But it's really exciting to be working with you. And hopefully quite inspiring for other customers who are on the session today. So what we'll do, guys, we'll just briefly run through what Care is, and then we'll get into the conversation with Becky. So I will go back to just sharing the PowerPoint briefly, and the screen should jump onto that. Great. And if I then, change this. There's a funny setting in this here. There we go. Cool. So just to introduce Bedford Care to the audience who are unfamiliar. So Bedford Care is a service that is led by our team of dedicated consultants. So we have a dedicated team here at Bedford to this service. And look, our vision is to be the #1 choice for customers who want to, who are looking for a partner, a support partner through Anaplan or for Anaplan. And really to help us and help the customers, I should say, kind of manage their applications, manage their environment, the entire ecosystem really, but also at the same time, offer that support, but really to enable that success longer term with the platform. So how we do that by providing a solution, a managed service solution, just to ensure that customers are happy with the day-to-day running of the platform, but also that we are supporting users, end users, super users, etc., to help develop functionality as well. So that's a big part of what we do is developing new functionality and helping build some of that out for customers, with kind of in-place applications, and obviously address any troubleshooting needs that the customer might have. And then look, there's some small quotes there at the bottom from some of our customers who've been very kind to give us some advocacy for their experiences with care so far. In terms of what the services are, so what do we actually do? So what are the kind of core pillars to our product? So the first core pillar, and really where care began 4.5 years ago, was our knowledge exchange platform, which is delivered through Slack, which each customer gets their own dedicated Slack channel. It's private to each customer, and it's a kind of a channel for model builders to go in and ask the Bedford team, not just the care team, but the wider professional services team, all of our experts, any questions on Anaplan. Really, there's nothing off the table in that regard, and you get quick responses. And we get all types of questions in there, from kind of formula assistance all the way to kind of how do you add users, this UX page has disappeared, what have I done, all the usual stuff that customers come up against on a day-to-day basis, and you get a quick turnaround and response. We also have a resource library, and we offer e-learning, so we have our own in-house e-learning kind of courses, and we also have a library of Anaplan kind of how-to videos and lots of materials around kind of particular functions in the product that certainly we see customers asking about quite a lot. So we've kind of packaged that up into a library to give customers access to that. We also offer expert advisory and coaching. So customers who would like to just sit and talk with an expert for 2 hours, our team can do that and kind of talk through, complicated Anaplan kind of design concepts, or maybe there's an expand on the horizon and the customer just wants to understand what do they need to do to get in position for that, and they can book time with our experts to chat through that. And it's also a good coaching opportunity for a lot of our customers. We also offer troubleshooting and bug fixing, so probably doesn't need a huge amount of elaboration, I should say, but yeah, if something goes wrong, we can help, and we can help quickly, and that's the kind of real good value with what we do for a lot of our customers, is we're there on hand immediately to help and support. And we can also manage. So when we talk about the managed service elements, we can do model updates, we can sustain models, we can do routines, we can do quarterly, month-end processes, any of those regular activities that need to happen on the platform. We can support with that, and we can do the more administrative stuff in the back end as well if needed. So really, you can pass all of that maintenance and management of your applications and your platform across to us, and we can do that on your behalf to give you the time as the customer to go and kind of do the more value add stuff with the tool. And we do application health checks as well. So we'll run a forensic analysis on an application and give you a report on kind of areas to kind of maybe put some focus on if you're looking to do a new use case, or you're looking to just build in some extra functionality, or you're looking to perhaps you want some kind of performance increase, that type of thing, where there's potential bottlenecks, etc. We can help you with that through our health check, our in-house, and that's an in-house built thing that we've developed from the ground up as well. Okay, so that's very quickly on what care is. I don't want to go too long on that, because you'll hopefully hear from the conversation between Becky and myself kind of what the main piece and the interesting stuff from the customer side is within what we offer. So we'll jump into the spotlight. So I'm Becky. I've stolen a little quote there. I hope you don't mind. But it was just quite an interesting. We've been talking that you mentioned, look, no one offered a managed service like the one that we offered, and it allows you to think bigger, which I think is really, that kind of sums of what we're trying to help customers achieve through what we're offering, is to give you the opportunity to do that kind of wider piece with the product. So what we'll do is I will stop sharing the application, and hopefully it switches to webcams. There's an audience view that doesn't show webcams, but maybe Lucia can ping me somewhere and let me know if that's actually happening. Because I know certainly it's nicer to see a face than just see a white screen with black text on it. But we'll make a start anyway, Becky. So in terms of, I just wanted to kick things off really on my first question about business needs, and really what business needs had you identified that kind of made you realize that you needed some support with Anaplan? And then kind of second part to that question is why was Bedford the partner that you approached in that regard?
Sure. So as I explained previously, we adapted Anaplan very quickly under extreme pressure, and we lifted our old models, as outdated as they were, and plonked them onto the new platform. With that transition, Anaplan recommended Bedford as a gold partner, knowing and being able to say that they would be easily capable of assisting us to move so rapidly. So we had communications with Bedford in the first place from implementation. However, we didn't have a support package. We had nothing in place officially for the first year of our usage. And throughout that year, it was a struggle to be able to develop. I was brand new to Anaplan. I didn't have a history of a knowledge of how it worked. The friendliness of Anaplan is there is the Anaplan community, but I didn't have the time to dive into all the if, buts, what's, hows. So I really needed some assistance to be able to develop consistently and reliably. So we didn't have the internal resource. It is me as a model builder, and I'm the only resource at the university as it stands at the moment. We are hoping to develop that moving forward, and we hopefully have a new post coming to fruition over the next couple of weeks. But all of that is because we've grown the profile of Anaplan and the importance. But in the first place, when we were looking for care, we didn't have that resource. We needed reliable knowledge. We needed someone that could deliver it quickly. Additionally, the cost of support was less than the equivalent of one FTE. So looking at the offerings, the amount of help we'd get, the Slack channel, the regular touching base was more valuable to us than having to recruit someone who had a background and be able to induct them to the university way. So it was a perfect fit for us, but it was built up from the strong relationship that Bedford built with us before we'd even signed up for the care contract. So not only did we do implementation, they stayed in contact with us. They touched base, and there was no contractual commitment to do that. But Ian from Bedford came down to the university to demo really what Bedford could do, how they could enhance the partnership with Anaplan, and that just opened a whole world of opportunity for us.
Yeah, probably fair to say Ian's been kind of fully inducted as well, I'm sure, into the university as well as Lee, most likely. But yeah, no, it's a really interesting, I think, journey you've had with us since the outset. And it's, you know, as a customer, I think the guys really enjoy working with you guys as well. And when I say you guys, it really is just yourself, which makes it even all the more remarkable, I guess, in terms of what you've been able to achieve. So when we talk about the tool itself, the service, Becky, are there any examples, I guess, of the kind of benefits you realized through kind of joining us with care, and how you've managed to bring those to life, I guess, for the university and for the teams there?
There are a million examples I could give you. The most valuable thing for us is the nurture days, the expert advisor time. I'm lucky enough to have Lee that helps us through our challenges, but being able to book that time in and say it's this day, this month, allows me to think about my strategy around what I want to conquer in that day, and lets me kind of focus that time more valuably on the right elements, rather than turning up to a session and saying, well, I don't know what I've got on my plate, so I don't know what I'm going to tackle. But I'm able to send Lee an email a week before and just say, these are my challenges. If there's anything really obvious and blasé, he'll come back and shout at me and say he needs a bit more info. But that has helped us kind of advance in a strategic way around our program, rather than having a panic of fixed hours in a big chunk, just to be able to touch base, really. And then between those times, when I come across a pickle, or there's something that I've missed out that should be really obvious, but I can't figure it out, I haven't got time to deep dive into Anapedia or anything like that, I can put a quick message on Slack. If I provide them enough information, I can get a response super quick. And I'm not talking just from Lee, it comes from 30 odd people, I think. So that gives me a really good view of being able to get a rapid response, if you like. I know there's no official SLAs on turnover time. I've never been in a situation where I've needed really urgent help, but every time they get back to me within a few hours with a really informed response. So it gives me the good guidance on where to go, where I should have looked. So rather than just giving me the answer, they're able to say, if you go here and here, try this. And that's really helpful on my development personally, but it teaches me what I should be looking out for the next time. So that's been quite helpful. I have explored a bit of the learning platform, but I haven't gone too far because I'm mainly focusing on Anaplan's training programs. But it's been helpful if there's a specific element that I'm trying to crack, like DCA or something like that, get my head around it. It's nice to have it from a second point of view rather than Anaplan where there's Bedford's explanation. And if I still don't understand it, I take it to Lee and say, Lee, can you help? And it's kind of attacking from several directions.
It's a nice approach, that, isn't it? And we do that a lot with our customers when the guys do the as you call it, the expert advisor time or the nurture days, where you have a question and we're still solving a challenge you have. I need to get my gross margin calculation to work correctly, but through that you're also picking up little hints and tips and tricks that the guys will do, just little small things that if you don't know they're there as features, you don't know until someone shows you. But I know the guys really enjoy that side of it as well, the kind of coaching element. Just when they see the bit that the customer's got that now, great, because it means when they come back the next time they'll get a more challenging question, and the guys love that. They like to be challenged. I think that's an Anaplanner's trait. I think is problem solving. An Anaplanner, if you don't enjoy problem solving or kind of being challenged to that degree, you're not really going to enjoy being an Anaplan model builder. But our guys have that in abundance.
I definitely think the questions I was asking in the first couple of months have advanced quite considerably. So when I was just saying, oh, how do I do this? I remember I go here, but I don't know which to do. Instead, I'm like, I'm on this model. I've built this system model. I've got this, and these are the dimensions, and I still can't get it to work.
We should put up your first question, Becky, on Slack. to see what it was.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something about time, probably, which was mind-blowing for me. But also, there's so many little extra features that you can't bundle and say one of our features of our care package is, because we get emails from you, Gary, that tell us the important bits, the bits that we should watch out for. So rather than me searching through the community and Anaplan, it's like a cheat sheet to say, these are the good ones. These are the ones that are really going to be relevant for you this month. And additionally, Lee's done several videos that are like quick views on ALM, just a 5-minute video that takes you through methodically where you need to go and what to do. And that gives you the kind of knowledge to be able to say, right, I'll give this a go myself. If it goes wrong, I've got Slack, so don't worry. But it's kind of a self-help ability, which isn't fully described in the basic care plan. So like extra added features. And then we looked at doing the platform health assessment. We didn't do it straight away when we first started with care, because we knew our models weren't where we wanted them to be. So we knew some things that we definitely needed to fix. But once we'd overcome the like glaringly obvious things, we set Lee to have a good trawl through our most complex model, to be able to give us some pointers, really. And all this really enhanced for us was confirmation that the care package is working, because a lot of our issues, or the ones that we had feared, were resolved. It also gave us a lot of education best practice in how it should be built, so highlighting any hard coding and things like that. But it also can be used as a really good training tool. So we are due to hopefully have a new model builder to work alongside me. And the first thing I'll be doing is introducing them to the model and saying, look, this is what Bedford said. Do you understand? Can you see the logic behind it? And that's a really helpful way of introducing someone to our models and saying, this is where we failed, but perhaps this is best practice, how to conquer that for the future.
Yeah, I really like sometimes the doing part of the health assessment can be quite a, I won't lie and say it's not potentially sometimes a bit of a painful exercise, because there's a lot of stuff to go through. And parts of it can be quite challenging, because you're trying to get your head around what someone else has designed and built. It definitely helps when it's one of the models we've built ourselves, Bedford, because we kind of have our way of doing things and building, but it certainly can be a challenge. And when you get your head through all of that and you come to the kind of the fun part, I guess, at the end, where you can come up with the suggestions and the recommendations, that's a really fun part of doing that. And then sitting with the customer and talking through, look, here's all the stuff we found. There's, all of this percentage down here. If you do nothing, it'll be absolutely fine. But there are little housekeeping things, and it's worth just keeping an eye on it. Then there's a middle bracket of maybe the ambers, which are, you should probably look at this. Again, things might be okay, but if you look to do X, Y, and Z in 3 months' time, add a new year to the model, whatever it might be, these should be addressed. And then hopefully you don't see too many reds where this needs immediate action, or certainly it can, has a potential to cause an issue if the model gets used in a particular way. So they're quite fun exercises in some ways, and like I said, it's great for the customer, because you then see all the stuff that you're potentially unaware of going into that type of session. So yeah, we really enjoy that. Some are definitely more challenging than others, but that's the beauty of Anaplan, I guess. No two models are the same, but it certainly keeps us on our toes. And as model builders and as Anaplanners ourselves, we always learn something coming out of those health assessments as well. Cool. Yeah, look, really interesting, but there's lots in that, Becky, isn't there? Like you said, you could, and we could keep talking about just kind of the benefits you've realized and just all the little bits that you've worked through, but conscious, I don't want to take up too much of your time nor the attendees. So we'll keep motoring through. And like this, look, next question is really interesting discussion point as well. It was around the kind of the value that you've been able to deliver. Like, it'd be good to hear what you've been able to do for the wider business, I guess, through your hard work, but also the bit around partnering with us on care, how we've kind of helped you and supported you in that regard.
Sure. So one feature that's really prominent is the ongoing relationship that I've been able to build with Lee. Lee understands our models. As you know, with Anaplan, you can plan anything you want. But if you just go for a contractor and say, can you help me on this? It's hard for them because they don't know the model inside out. And I feel that Lee's taken enough interest in our models and the way we would do things to understand our ways of working and understand the different features for us. And that's allowed us to build a reliable roadmap, if you like, of what we can achieve at certain points. So he's very aware that I have limited resource and there's not much scope, but he's able to put kind of a second eye over the development just to say, yeah, that's the right approach to take, or actually there are some alternatives, we can do it slightly differently. And that gives me a quicker development pathway, because I haven't had to go trawling through Anapedia to find out the answer, or getting lost in the planule. He's pointed me where I need to go, or known best practice. And it is an absolute huge advantage to have that knowledge base of someone who's so focused on Anaplan for people that don't have all the time in the world to spend on Anaplan every day. So it's a real valuable asset for us. So it's definitely the acceleration and the definition of roadmaps and realistic timeframes to be able to produce it.
Yeah, and I really like that point you make, Becky, on the, you only know what you know, and having just that additional team, whether it's, Lee's done a hell of a lot of work with you guys, but he'll draw on other people in Bedford as well, and you've probably spoken to a few other people as well from a support perspective. But even the best Anaplanners we see at customers, there's always another way to approach a challenge, and having just that kind of sounding board as well is a huge benefit for customers. And I always, I try to urge customers to always consider that, when they come back to me and say, no, we have 5 or 6 people internally, we don't, we're set up here, we're good. My challenge to that is always, you're good for what you know, but you only know what you know. Whereas we have 100 plus professional services consultants in the wider field who are looking at hundreds and hundreds of applications probably on a daily basis, and be able to feed all that back in. And we use Slack internally as well to ask those questions. So if somebody has a customer has a question, be it through care or on a project, straight into the Slack channel, guys, who's seen a way to do this that's really efficient, or I've never seen this problem before, is anyone able to help? There's always an angle to take it that's maybe one you didn't think was there originally. So that's a real message I want to give to customers is, you do only know what you know, and yes, you probably get through 85 to 90% of some of the work you need to do. There's that additional percentage where you might struggle and need some support, but there's also that consideration of that 85 to 90%. Is it done in the most optimal way now versus maybe when it was done 3 or 4 years ago? So when a lot of people may have started to learn Anaplan, but then you get into a day-to-day role as well, and you sometimes lose sight of the changes on the platform. And kind of calling back to what you'd mentioned there around the stuff I would send out. This is now new. Have you considered this? Lee jumps on with you, shows you the features, or you show him a feature as well. It kind of goes both ways sometimes as well. That's the nice thing, I guess, working with the really good Anaplanners from the customer side is we kind of absorb a lot from them as well.
One argument I would say, if you've got a team of Anaplanners, great, I dream of that one day. But still, having the care package is almost like doing research and development for that team. So you're upskilling that team by giving them this data source, this information. And I hate to call Bedford just an information source, a data source, but you have been invaluable with your reactions to our requirements, and the fact that you've been so diverse in being able to cater for all of our anomalies. We call everything something strange or quirky. So a workforce can't be a workforce in a university, it has to be called something else. And you've been able to understand our ways of working. And I think for any Anaplanner changing jobs or going into a new organisation, Bedford have really shown the diversity in your knowledge and how it's applicable to any organisation.
Yeah, we've at least probably built up a nice glossary of terms that he probably shares out when we have a question. But yeah, and that's the interesting thing as well with working with any customers. You know, that's part of the itch that gets scratched from our side is the exposure to new stuff. You know, new organizations, new industries. It can be really interesting. For the most part, it's generally very interesting. You know, because it's just new to people, and that's the curiosity as well. That kind of is a big part of the, you know, the kind of motivation for people who get into the kind of work that we do. You mentioned previously, Becky, as well, around the statistical forecasting. That's kind of on the roadmap, is it? I think you mentioned there was an interest in that, which sometimes scares the life out of people when people start talking about statistical forecasting and predictive data and that. But I know that's something you're kind of looking at and considering, I guess, longer term.
We're really hungry to do things that are more efficient. We don't want people playing around with numbers on a really granular level. We want to be using assumptions more, but we are not a large enough organisation to be able to justify something like Plan IQ or features like that. So I explained to Lee how much there are some great features in Anaplan, but it's kind of limiting as to our budgets and our remits and what we can afford there. And Lee straight away, no quibbles, said straight away, we've got something that does something that's a bit more affordable. We've got a statistical forecasting model that we could just customize to fit your requirements. And that's the dream, just to have it kind of pre-built to a certain extent, so you know the logic is sound, and then you can just put your personal drivers on there or the areas you want to measure to be able to blow forward. Whereas at the moment here at the university, we're still very granular in our tweaking, and we're not overly applying logic towards calculations for the future. We're planning year by year with adjustments on each year. So having the ability to just look at several scenarios with different inferences applied to them, that would be a huge advancement around scenario planning or the what if scenarios that everyone has to be so cautious about right now, but especially universities with politics going the way that they are. It's really important that we use our finances sensibly, really, and intelligently to make sure that our students are getting the best experience out of the journey. So that was an eye-opener and such like a breath of fresh air, because Anaplan can show you some great features, but it's just not quite in reach for your use case. Whereas I believe your statistical forecasting can pretty much fit any requirement, regardless of scale.
That's certainly what I've been told as well in regards to the development of that. But yeah, the guys have done a huge amount of work in trying to, you know, address that challenge, because that is one of the biggest challenges, isn't it, when you create these accelerators, and you know, there's other off-the-shelf applications, if you want to call them that, is to be customizable and to be adjustable for a particular customer. That's a very challenging piece to develop, but the guys have done some great work on that in that regard. And you know, you mentioned there around just unlocking that conversation, and I think it comes back to just that relationship that, you know, our consultants build with the customers. Lee knows you well enough to go, you might just be interested in this, but you know, I'll mention it. We can have a 5-minute conversation on it, or we can get into it a bit deeper. But it's really just knowing the customer, knowing the challenges you have, that relationship that you get through care is really powerful. You know, you've spoken to that at length, to be fair, to this point anyway, but again, just another example really of how that can work really well. And I do like this, the user management model. I must get a demonstration of that at some point, because I know it seems like kind of probably not the most exciting of implementations, but having seen user management challenges more times than I care to remember, having a model that can achieve that for you, because when you blow it up, it can get very difficult to maintain. Yeah, probably the nerdy side of me that enjoys that side of it as well, to how that's working, you know.
I think our challenge was we went from 10 users to over 100, and trying to juggle that and make sure that I've got the right number of people with the right licenses on the right grade and things like that became really complex. But it was really good because Lee built that with me. It wasn't project time. I explained the scenario and the issue, and Lee came to me with a solution, set me some homework to do in between our sessions. I'd try and get as far as I could, and then I'd come back to the next session with I want to beef this up and make better use of this and be able to control that. And now we've got a fully automated process where a user, a model lead, can add their own users and give them the right permissions, which is a dream come true, because it was such a slog for a model builder to be doing. It seems like a small activity, but the amount of turnover we get and movement in planning activities and responsibilities, it's really important for us to keep up to date and to make sure that we're still within remits of our financial spend.
So you'll have people, like you said, so you'll have users coming in, but it's a very temporary thing to use it, and then it's okay to assign and allocate all those, all the access and the access to the modules and the list items. But then to take it all away, you know, it's a lot of effort to set someone up that might only be for a short period of time. Yeah, I can totally see the benefit there. I've seen some monstrous manual processes in the past that have, I wouldn't say they've kept me awake at night, but they've certainly caused me an amount of stress, and, you know, in a sense, lost time as well, because that you're not adding value to anything really when you're just, you know, setting up a user profile map to give them permissions to, you know,
I think that was
15 different cost centers, but at, you know, 25 different levels, and that can take hours and hours. So if you can build that into into a model, into a process, that upfront
definitely a pain point for us. And I think more than ever, because we've only had me as a model builder, if someone's coming to me and saying, I need to change a license, I need to give someone access, that's taking me away from the important development that I want to be doing and enhancing the model. So yeah, it was an investment. It took a couple of sessions to get it right. However, the outcome means that we don't have to monitor it so closely because the system gives me the information that I need, which is, I think, a more rewarding way to work.
Yeah, no, it's very cool. Very nice use of the tool, I have to say. Great. When we talk about, because you've done projects through Bedford as well, Becky. So it'd be interesting to hear what do you think you get, the benefits, what benefits do you feel you get from care that are just different to what's delivered through kind of project time, I guess? How does, 'cause that's a big question customers have is, I do projects, great. There's an obvious thing, it's post-project support, but just maybe in a bit more kind of granular level, yeah, what's the kind of stuff that you've got from care that you, I guess, didn't necessarily get delivered through projects?
So our main difficulty is time. The project has a defined start and an end, and that puts everyone under pressure to deliver within that time. The care package gives me planned out nurture days. So that's a regular check-in. It's not got a definitive end where you've got to cut ties and be on your own. It's an ongoing support to make sure that if you've got any other questions, they're still going to be addressed. And having that ongoing support allows that good relationship to form between Lee and myself or the consultants. I think even the guys on Slack are getting a bit more familiar with our quirks. And it also means it's really easy to manage. Some contracts, some support contracts, you'll have so many points or something per month, and then you've got to allocate that to certain tasks, and you've got to come up with a big long list, and then you lose your hours and things like that. But being able to book in, just say to Lee, I want 2 half days during this month, I want this day and that day, can you do it? I know that that's time that I can dedicate specifically to anything and everything, not to a fixed something. Everything is changing so rapidly here at the university that what we planned to do 2 weeks ago might change with the direction of the wind or anything that comes our way. So it's really important to be flexible. Planning a project can take 3 months, getting approved, finances, everything like that, further 3 months. 6 months gone and your plans change anyway. Whereas the regular touch base means that whatever I want to do, I know that I've got help to achieve that within that time.
Yeah, it's the reactivity. It gives you that, doesn't it, that option that to just be reactive. If I want to make a change, I don't have to wait 3 months, like you say, to kind of get the project spun up. And because that's a natural, that's just how projects work, is, it just takes time to get the teams in place and the agreements in place. But with care, it's a slightly different approach because we can just be more reactive to that. And look, we're not going to build you an FP&A model from scratch. That's definitely in the project world. But for the likes of yourself who have those kind of ongoing challenges and enhancements you want to make, it's a really nice fit.
It is, and even with the user management model, we were able to do it the Anaplan way. So we built up our user stories and we talked through the possibilities. So it wasn't a full-out project where we were trying to do something. I had a challenge and Lee said, you can do that with a user management model. Brilliant, excellent. Let's tackle that. So it's not like you're skipping the right way of doing it. It's just you can take your own pace without being rushed or pressured by juggling people and time in projects.
Yeah, you mentioned to me previously, didn't you, around that bit around you can manage your spend as well. I mean, we can all manage our spend anyway on a project, but there aren't many layers, I guess, to it. You know what you're getting. I have availability of particular resources. I have this amount of time, but I can choose how I want to use that time, essentially, and you can kind of work through it as you want. So it's again just a flexible approach, I guess, to that as well. In terms of future, Becky, what's in the roadmap? What's the plan? So, what have you not achieved yet that you're kind of looking forward to working with us on? Not to give Lee any heart palpitations, but be interesting to hear what's down the line.
We definitely have some big plans. We're very interested, as you know, about the statistical modelling. where we can involve a bit more historic trend data and market data to be able to inform our assumptions. So that's really important. As I said, we're building a new way of dealing with our student number plans, so that's really helpful. And we'd like to make more connections between our models. So we've got some base models, but the links in between are still work in progress. So developing our usage of CloudWorks over the past 6 months, I've enhanced our usage of CloudWorks from 0 to, I think we've got about 6 different flows that go between models, in and out of the system entirely, to third-party systems. And so it's just really embracing that and making sure we're using the data to make sure it's valuable and worthwhile. And it's so simple compared to some integrations. And it could have been so scary, but again, we held our hand, so we were fine.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, it's a nice feature of the product as well, isn't it? Like that, Anaplan are very good at now developing and releasing features that are, they're very easy, I think, to assimilate into a team, with a bit of guidance. But if you're an experienced Anaplanner, and I don't mean that from a model builder perspective in terms of, but just you've used the tool, frequently over an extended period of time, the releases that they're bringing in, like CloudWorks, and like Workflow, and the new data management piece as well, that's on the horizon. The approach is this can be used by the end user and understood by the end user pretty easily, which is very nice for us as well, because it just means we can upskill customers in very quickly with that. And like I said, a bit of hand holding at the start, but this stuff isn't actually overly complicated from a technical perspective. The way you might want to use it can be very complicated, but the technical side is straightforward enough.
Our challenge mainly was getting over the line. So I've seen CloudWorks left, right, and centre. So many times it has been demonstrated, but I always thought it would be far too complex. And just within like 15 minutes, Lee showed me how to do it, and I was kind of flabbergasted, because I've never taken the time to stop and think about it. And many people just don't have that time. They think, oh, CloudWorks, it's got to be a really horrific process to get that up and running. But having reassurance and having that handhold to say this reliably works was so reassuring, especially when it's me on my own, to be able to implement and provide confidence to the organisation. It's like a little guardian angel. So thank you.
Yeah. I'll tell Lee, he's been referred to as there might be a first for him. But it is interesting when you look at the product, because we've all been on those demonstrations. And if you have the deep technical knowledge, like a lot of the guys in our team do, 90, again, I'm throwing out percentages, but a lot of it will make sense straight away. But there's still that gap of, okay, but what about that bit? I'm a bit gray on that additional bit at the end there and how that all came together. And that can be quite daunting. And I can imagine what that's like for a customer then, that's on one of these technical demos or has clicked on a video on YouTube, or there are other services available, obviously, but that can scare people a little bit. But then just having someone come in and say, break it down to constituent parts. Actually, this isn't that complicated. If we just, what do you need it to do? And let's do an example of what you need it to do. And then you can see how straightforward and simple it is. And I stick in a SQL code quickly, or maybe not even a SQL code. You just link it to, some data lake somewhere, and it all just kind of flows through, and you point to your actions, and it just starts to work. And that to me, that's a real benefit of the product in general, is just actually once you get past the scary tech demos, it's very, very straightforward and simple.
For sure.
There's probably people screaming at me in the audience saying, hold on a minute, but it really is, when you break it down, it's, there are naturally complications, but I just think when you take the time to someone to explain it to you on your own terms, I guess that's when it can really land. Last question for me, Becky, around the, I guess, Anaplan is and cares. What advice would you give to a customer, I guess, who is in the same position maybe you were, you know, with Anaplan, prior to maybe not even just care, but just in general, and you know, going on that start of that journey where you're like, I know I'm going to need help here. What do I do? Like, if you could go back to yourself nearly at that point in time, you probably made the right decision, I guess. But what advice would you give to other customers who are in that position and are thinking about, you know, what are my options going forward?
Well, we were very cautious because of the nature of our organisation. We need to make sure that we're committing to the right arrangement to sustain for the future. When I was convincing our organisation that we needed the additional support, I didn't really realise how much our work would become enriched. So anything that I do is so much stronger because it's got the kind of second eye over that we're doing it correctly or sensibly or logically. So it's reassurance that you're in the right direction. As many as you can, Anaplanners, you could buy into the organisation. Do you have the time and the resource to maintain their interest? An Anaplanner intrinsically wants to grow and develop, and we just didn't have that to be able to have as an internal resource. We had the ability to go out to you guys and say, we need some help, but we need some help right now with the answers right now. And that gave us the whole wide world to be able to develop in a more sustainable way, have confidence that we could achieve our planning strategies on time and within cost, which is really, really important to us at the moment.
Yeah, that's just, I think it's a sentiment, isn't it? That's, I think, very, very broad at the moment in the current climate. I think everyone's kind of feeling that there's a pressure, huge pressure on costs. You know, cost reduction at the moment, and if there's ways we can support with that through, you know, through Bedford and helping customers just increase that gap in accuracy a little bit, or you know, whatever we can do to just help support that, you'd hope that there's a good return on that, you know, on that investment up front. So it's really pleasing to hear that, you know, that's the reason we do a lot of this, is that we're helping you in that regard and just taking that pressure off a little bit, you know, as well. And long may the relationship continue. I would suspect we'll get Lee in doing the stat forecasting, and we'll all be spotting up on the intricacies of that. But yeah, no, really looking forward to it. So thank you, Becky, for kind of sharing that story. In terms of time, sorry, we have a couple of questions, guys, and I might just before we wrap up at the very end, just to address one or two questions that have come through the chat. So there's quite a few here, but you've inspired probably a lot of minds, Becky, in your chat. But there's a couple that have come through here. I'll try and kind of race through one or two before we wrap up and say our goodbyes to everybody. First question is, what kind of packages do you offer? Are there time-based restrictions on usage and that? So there's different types of packages we offer. Again, I won't go into huge detail here. There's information on the website, but we kind of do offer both effectively. So there are time restricted, time limited options, but there's also kind of unlimited options as well, in terms of, so big scope. I wouldn't even say enterprise level, but just that if customers want to come in and have as much time as they need, there's options there. But yeah, that information is on our website now, and there's a brochure as well that's available to download if you just go to our website and find the managed service link. That information is there. There was a question around, maybe someone was late to the chat here, but the best time to do a health check, I think, or maybe it's a part of what you've kind of hinted at, Becky. You said 9 months in, you kind of did your one. So is there a best time? And it really depends. I guess it depends on when you join care, are you coming into care with a bunch of models that you know might benefit from a health check, or are the models that are still quite, if you want to call it, immature, for lack of a better term, and are still being enhanced a little bit and need, 6 months of heavy usage. If it's that type of situation, I would say wait and wait a little bit. Like I say, wait the 9 months and then pick up the health assessment. So there's not a real correct answer for that. It really depends on the situation. I would imagine get the model live, get it in use with the end users for an extended period, and then at that point we'll come in and we can capture the kind of pain points and what are you seeing from the user base. Are there any enhancements you want to make longer term? We can come in and kind of frame a health check around those particular topics that might be at the forefront of the mind of the model building team internally. This is a good question, actually. If we don't have internal expertise in Anaplan, like Becky, we have lack of model building skills, will I still get value from care? It's a very good question. So in short, yes, absolutely. We cater our services and they're packaged up in such a way that we try to cater for all customer types. So you'll have customers like Becky who are excellent Anaplanners, but just want that reassurance, want that, like you said, someone to confirm what I'm doing is correct and coach me on the additional features on the product. But you'll also have customers who just want to hand everything across and don't have the internal expertise, or do have the internal expertise, but they're busy doing other projects and they're busy or they're busy in development, but there may be a suite of live applications that need to be maintained and still need enhancements, and still bugs come up. End users struggle with inputs. We get on a daily basis, we have customers who are on our managed service who they're end users, but they just need a bit of a helping hand, and the development team is away developing, and we've picked up the support in that regard. So yeah, it really depends on the usage, depends on, I guess, the way you use it, I should say, depends on the situation for the particular customer. But I'm yet to come across a customer who, certainly I haven't been able to see a fit for care. Customers may challenge that, and I'd always welcome that and open that conversation. But if you're ever unsure, just talk to us, and we can kind of speak to you and what your needs are, and how we can support that. And last question around training: do we have our own materials? Yes, we do. So we have our own suite of e-learning courses. We have again, we have some PDF documents as well that we draw up to kind of, not lengthy stuff. It's quite short and snappy, but they're easily digestible. Kind of hints and tips, cheat sheets, as you kind of call them, Becky. And we also have a video library, so that's a nice resource where you can jump in and look at a couple of videos that are particular to maybe what you're trying to achieve, e.g. CloudWorks. But what I like about those as well is you're looking at a library of videos, and you might actually be, again, it's the same thing. If you're on a service where there's videos, you might then click on the next one and say, oh, they've got a video about this piece of functionality that I haven't considered, but it's a 2-minute video. I might actually just have a look at this over a cup of tea or something, if that gets you going, and learn something that way. So yeah, lots of content as well that kind of addresses those enablement concerns that customers may have. So thank you for those questions, guys. We're nicely on time. I'm making a habit of this where my webinars seem to land at exactly 60 minutes, so I'm doing something right anyway. But really just leaves me, Becky, again, to a huge thank you to you for kind of sharing your story with us today. You're kind of one of those standout customers for us through care that really embraces everything that we want to help you with. And we don't have to convince you to say, have you try and use it this way, or try and speak to us about this. You're like, yeah, come talk to me. Or you're dragging us in the door. I need you to come talk to me. So really fun working with you, and hope that continues for years to come. But thank you again from my side, and hopefully, I'm sure the people on the call today have taken a lot away from your journey, and hopefully a little bit inspired as well. So thank you. Don't worry, we don't need any kind of closing remarks other than thank you, Becky. That's absolutely fine. And guys, we'll call the webinar there, but to the people who have attended, we'll send out some links to again to the website and to some of the brochures. And of course, if there's any questions at all on care or any of our services, just reach out to us through the website, and we'll pick up any conversations that any customers or potential customers would like to have. Great. Thank you, guys, and all the best. Thank you, Becky.